how you know.
You got a book thrown at you? You probably
Wooden
deserved it.
spoons and hangers.
Oh yeah, we did get hit with spoons. That's something that we didn't talk about when Mom was on camera.
The discipline.
I'm seeing if she got anything in her hand. Ooh, the swift discipline.
It was necessary because we were a handful.
Yeah, I
I know I was.
We're boys too, so it's like, you know, sometimes the physical nature is what helps us.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being very emotionally just kind of like sensitive, like super sensitive. I remember very sensitive. I remember the smallest thing triggering me. I do remember that. But I also remember, you know, all of the love that Mom gave us and the long, tight hugs that we got, you know.
Yeah.
And not being able to go to bed without giving her a kiss and stuff like that, you know. And then, you know, then you have Dad with, you know, his strong hand, with lots of wisdom, you know. And I think about that too, because it's almost like having that distance from Dad also taught me independence and how to be strong without someone necessarily making me strong. You know, it's like going through those periods of weakness, you learn what it's like to feel weak and to feel alone and all those things, and you learn what to battle later on. It's like, I know this feeling. No, thank you. You know, I've been here before. I'm good. You know, I am strong. I am content.
So are you saying that when you were a kid, you felt lonely a lot? Because you mentioned that a little bit earlier.
Oh yeah, I remember those feelings. I don't know how alone I was, but I remember feeling alone. I guess maybe not having a peer for a while, and just having you know, siblings that were much older, parents that worked a lot. I saw y'all when you came home. We had dinner together, things like that. But the off moments, you know, and playing with my toys and things like that. I spent a lot of time playing with my toys and stuff. I made action figures out of tissue paper, not a toilet paper. You know, just, you know, I found ways to entertain myself.
I remember that.
You know, it would have been different if I had a sibling closer to my age. Yeah. But
I don't know, bro. The reason why I say I don't know, I'm thinking because you're so creative. I think I just remember, bro. You just, even when you play with other kids, our younger cousin, I remember you creating games. And I was like, Chris, this is not a game. And I didn't get it at first because you had a name for it. You had rules. And when the kid did something, you said, no, that's not how it goes. And I said, Chris, you made this up. You can't tell them this is not how it goes because we're making it up as we go. I mean, I was convincing you that it wasn't a game. Like, you're making this up. But I didn't realize you did make it up, intentionally made it up. And I was just ruining the moment. I was like, afterward, I was like, oh, he did make it up. When you kind of looked at me, it said he did make it up and he meant to make it up. He's not trying to sell it off as a different, you know, pre-made game. Yeah. So I'm like, I just feel like you were always so creative that maybe you just always had to be creating. And even just spending time with other folks, you find yourself creating things that didn't exist. Like, you would find that space like that. I always call it a lair. I don't know why. You know, I call your current apartment the lair.
It's a cave, definitely a cave. It's underground.
Yeah, you go into the lair and you create, and you got your tissue paper. Now they are guitars, wood.
Well, yeah, I graduated from toilet paper to actual paper and pencils and charcoal and graphite.
Yeah,
and things like that.
And I think that's fascinating, man. That's fascinating. And that is somewhat of a, I don't know, to be a creative, bro, and to be like a mad scientist is what I think about. There is a certain level of solitude in that, with that life. So yeah, I think balance is always good. Always good. Even if I can be an extrovert, right, and I'm always out, I have to have balance where I come back and chill out sometimes. So
likewise.
Yeah.
But my solitude is now more productive than it used to be. I don't waste it in deep, you know, negative emotion and things like that like I used to. Yeah. Now my solitude is spent empowering myself and doing things that I like to do, you know, or sleeping.
So yeah, bro. Look, I just like thank you for coming out, because I always feel like when people like you, meaning like creators, I know people who always have work, like music to create, businesses that they're running, stuff like that. Folks that I know that are working, like even Jay Watts, James, my oldest brother, has always got stuff that they're working on. I'm like, yo, thank you for taking this time. Like, it's not lost on me that it's a sacrifice. So
pleasure is mine.
Thanks, man.
Happy to be a part.
Did we cover everything? No?
There's a lot.
I know we can't cover everything.
Can't cover everything.
What we looking like on time?
34 minutes.
Okay. Let me think. Did we on a...
I mean, I remember you growing up and everything you said about how much you've been an entrepreneur since you were young. I think you were the first person I ever saw sell candy in school.
Really?
Yep.
So you're saying I'm the first person that ever... I started that.
I think you
started
that trend. Started that trend.
I probably sold candy before any candy lady sold candy.
Probably. Not to mention all the grandmas that have
notwithstanding the candy ladies in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s.
But still, I remember you coming home with a book bag full of candy. I remember that. And you've always had money. You've literally always had money. I've never known you to not have money. I remember when you worked at Pizza Hut when you were in your early 20s or in your late teens, 18, 19 years old.
That was high school.
You were 17 working at Pizza Hut.
18.
And you had that box of cash under your bed.
You knew about that box of cash?
I knew about that box of cash.
Did I show you that box of cash?
I don't know. I may have just been snooping around.
I remember distinctly that I would shut and lock the door when I got home from from work. I was shut because we were sharing a bedroom at that time for a brief moment. I would shut and lock the door, go under the TV, pull out that shoebox, that Phillip box.
Or was it Nike? Phillip box. Yep, it was a Phillip box.
And I had bundles of $100, $1 bills per bundle.
For tips from working at Pizza Hut.
And you knew about that box.
I knew about that cash.
You never took anything.
No, I didn't want it. I was just curious.
You know, I knew you didn't take anything because I kept good records.
I mean, I've never really, not that money's not important.
What were you doing under there?
It's just our relationship with money is so different. I mean, it's a tool for me. Yes, it's a tool, definitely a good resource, but I never really cared about money.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to love it to get a lot of it. You know?
No, you don't.
I feel like you do.
No, I mean, like Grandma said today, she said, I love making money. That distinction is, I think, very important because I believe that the love of money is not good at all. Because money is a figment of our imagination, to be honest. It's the actual cash has made up value. If you didn't want it, I couldn't do anything with it but start a fire. The only value is that someone wants it. And if I love something just because someone wants it, what's the real root? What's the real virtue in that thing that I have?
That's a good point. I guess it's more about the access that you gain from having it. You know, so like I remember like when I was younger, asking, you know, for $20 for gas or asking, I don't know, some small thing that I wanted, like an iPod or something. Like remember those little ones that were like
the little square clip-on joints.
I just remember being so frustrated because I remember wanting an iPod because I wanted to hear music all the time and listen to music and a CD player, same thing. So I went, you know, years of being told no, thankfully, because I would be a spoiled, and even more spoiled brat now if I was told yes every time I asked for something. But I remember when I turned 16, I was like, you know what, I'm getting a job. I'm going to go to work because I'm sick of asking for money. Yeah. That's what I did. And swept hair at a barber shop.
I remember that.
$20 a chair. Wasn't bad.
I love it, bro.
And then I got stuff that I wanted to get. You know, I didn't know anything about saving, investing, anything like that. I just wanted access to the things that I feel like I needed. So to me, money is access. It's not so much having money. It's more about having the thing that I need and needing that money to get it.
It's an answer.
You know, I remember you bought that red Acura. Cash.
Someone helped me a little bit.
Wow.
Did you help me a little bit for that?
I was really impressed. I remember seeing the box of money, and then before I knew it, I saw a red car.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, so that's what money does. All right, I get it now.
That's funny. I love that little red Acura Legend 1990 candy apple red 2-door 5-speed.
That was a nice car.
I've raced many a Negro.
You drove it till the wheel literally fell off.
I drove it till the wheel fell off.
Literally. Yeah.
I raced the cop in that car and won.
Oh.
But I got a ticket, so did I ultimately win? Yes. because I got out of the ticket. The answer is yes.
You won the race, but not the war.
But I thank God because I'd made so many mistakes in that little red car. And what if I had snuffed my little life out driving that car? So anyhow, the wheel fell off. Jesus took the wheel. And it was literally the year that Jesus took the wheel came out. It really was.
Did we sing that, making fun of you?
I remember several people saying that, making fun of me. Jesus took the wheel. Yes.
Oh, that's hilarious. But yeah, I remember that vaguely. As far as I remember specifically you having money, but like I said, at that age, I didn't really have a relationship with money. And being the youngest and the whiniest and the most annoying person in the house, I remember.
Let me think.
Not necessarily feeling any sort of way about how I affected everyone else.
You were the
more
baby.
just I remember how I was and just being really apologetic at a certain point. It's like, you know what, I was an a-hole.
I wish other baby siblings would come to that point. But many don't. They just stay spoiled and they come to work.
I mean, it helps to have a relationship with like people younger than I am. To know that what it's like to be on the other side. Like, oh, okay. So you are actually crying for no reason. Like, stop. And you get older. You always have someone under you. You always have someone over you.
Yeah,
and it's important to grab pieces of wisdom from both sides.
Yeah,
you can learn a lot from children. You can learn a lot from your parents and from older people too.
Yeah,
every generational position has importance, right? Older people learn from the young learn from old. And so, yeah, time has really taken good care of me, I think. And my relationship with God definitely has kept me strong for a while. Even when I renounced my religion, I kept my relationship with God. And so my relationship grew and got stronger and stronger and stronger the further away I got from what I was taught as religion. And now I understand religion to be, a structured lifestyle, which is very important. But it's a structured lifestyle that I constructed, that I know works for who I am and how I am as a person. So I do live religiously, but it's not something that a pastor might look at and say, oh, yeah, that's good. It's what I consider to be good for my life.
Yeah.
So
I think that's powerful.
My sleep patterns, my eating patterns, my personal habits, what I do when no one's looking.
Right.
The friends that I keep, the people I hang out with, all those things are religion to me, because I do it religiously.
Yeah.
Every day I'm conscious of this, and this. This is my religion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
just talked about that earlier today. Talked about that actually with our producer Van, and was saying how I remember both our parents would pray often. Right, I remember coming into the bedroom, mom is on her knees on the pillow praying, and I remember going into the basement, dad is praying. I remember going into grandma's house first thing in the morning. We get there maybe 6 or whatever. She's on the phone praying, and I was like, "Does it take all this prayer?" Hey. I never really had that thought, but as an adult, looking back, as I was finding my way through my faith and finding grace, it's not that I thought later, it's not that we lacked any grace at home. It's just when you see someone who's at year 40 or 50 in their walk, and you're maybe at year 15 of trying to figure things out, what they do may seem a little overwhelming. And what I was saying earlier was I've come full circle to be like, okay, they weren't doing that to be religious. They were doing that because that's what they were led to do for their relationship, for the health of their faith and relationship. Right. So getting up at 5 a.m. and praying wasn't a requirement from God or a requirement necessarily even from their pastor or their minister. But they came to a point where, oh, I want to pray, or I need to pray. I want to do this. And like what you're saying, like this is what works for me in my faith. And there was a time I was like, I tried to get up and pray every morning, 5 a.m., but it was a religiosity thing. It wasn't doing it because I really needed it and wanted it, because I knew I loved that time with God as much as he loved to fellowship with his kids. So it's come full circle. And it is, you can still call it religious, but it's not dogma. Dogma says you have to do this because I told you to. It can be religious in as much as I religiously will be going to the gym starting tomorrow, right? If I get up every morning, I go to the gym at 6 a.m., religiously, that's religious. Not in a spiritual sense, but I'm doing it religiously. I mean, it's something that I do consistently, that I stick to, I keep holy in a sense. I say I set this time apart for my physical health. And it's not because anybody told me to. It's not because I read it in a book, but it's because in my heart, that's what I want to do. And I think that's what we saw demonstrated, even though might not have understood it at the time or even it may not even been articulated that way. Because I don't think people really, I don't think it was articulated that way, but I think the example that we saw was not one of dogma, but of healthy religiosity. But can you have healthy religiosity? But you get what I'm saying. It's born out of a need or a passion or love for God, rather than any dogma that says they had to.
Right.
And it sounds like that's where you got it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess right now I'm way more spiritual than I used to be. Having I mean, we've been taught about, we were raised in church. I don't feel like I don't feel like I was actually close with God until around 11 or 12, when I had a religious experience. I had a spiritual experience rather, during a religious ceremony. And from then on, I felt like I could actually communicate with God and have, like, my prayers were more like a conversation versus just regurgitating what I heard in church or from someone else. It's more like I'm actually talking to a higher power. And so that years down the line, I kept that part. That part I never lost that. What I did lose was all of the rules and things that I had to follow, per se, in order to fit in to my clan. Just like any other religion, Jewish people, you have your non-practicing Jews, I think you also have your non-practicing Christians too.
Of course.
But like Dad's relationship with God was indelible, it was insurmountable. Dad was very close to God. Even when he shouts,
indelible.
He would jump. I remember seeing Dad jump like 9 feet in the air in front of the church.
He was at least 16, 17 feet in the air.
Yeah. I remember him speaking in tongues, real thick, guttural tongues, tongues that you felt. It's like, man, I don't know what he's saying, but I feel it. And just watching people like dwell in the spirit, those overnight services and people, screaming and praying and crying and all this. We grew up around that, watching it. It wasn't until much later in life that I actually experienced it for myself. It's like, oh, I get it now. In those moments, you're not thinking about anyone else around you. It's something, it comes from the inside, and it boils up. You just cannot control it. You can't stop it. It just happens. It's fantastic, amazing. And I remember seeing Mom do that. I remember hearing Mom in her room just going in, listening to gospel music, praying, and that was a big influence on me, because it wasn't like she was doing it for somebody else. It was just her and God in a room, and that meant a lot to me to see that at a young age. And that's going to mean a lot for my children going forward. So keeping my faith strong, and my relationship strong, so that when I do have those moments of inspiration, or those deep moments of prayer, when I'm outwardly communicating with God, my kids are going to see that. They might not know what it means, but they'll know that their dad was connected to something else that you can't see. And maybe I can get that connection too. But Dad's walk with God, Grandma's walk, Mom's walk, any other the elders we had growing up, always encouraged us. Now, I mean, as far as the emotional part of it, there was some distance there. Physically, like you said, Dad was definitely around. but hugs and kisses and encouragement, you know, it's kind of things we get from our friends or from strangers, unfortunately. It still holds its importance. I'd much rather have come from Dad. But it's not like we're lost on it now. Like you said, we're not in jail. We're not on the streets doing whatever. But definitely there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of facets to raising a child. So I say it takes a village, because what one person lacks, the other person has, you know, and vice versa. And the child sees all of that. All of those things affect how a person grows up and sees the world. So I don't feel like I lost anything. I don't feel like I'm missing anything emotionally, anything like that. So I've grown up a lot since then. But I do remember how we started and how it affected us growing up, and the things that we had to go through personally. I can tell that my brothers have all gone through what some people might call the dark night of the soul, when you realize I have these dark attributes about me, and I'm going to address them. You know, I'm going to fix them and be better and those kind of things. So as of now, I think we're good. But I do have a good bank of what not to do as a father, you know, and things that I do want to implement as a father. I feel like a childless father now because of my students. And I get to implement some of those things too. Unfortunately, some of those kids might grow closer to me than they do to their own patrilineal links, which is also kind of awkward, you know, because you meet the dad, and Dad's like, why does my kid like you more than he likes me? And the kids,
because you suck. It's like,
you know, kids just children won't say it, but kids love wisdom. They love when you talk to them outside of
correction,
outside of like you know how like when some people talk to toddlers like a baby, doopy 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 doop, and the baby's like, what, you know, versus talking to a toddler with actual English, proper English,
right,
and then watching them try and speak English back to you. They're learning. That child will probably want to talk to you.
Nobody can be allowed to speak any gibberish to my baby.
No, speak proper
speak
English.
Exactly you speak to anyone else.
This is the child. This is what they need to learn.
This is the prince, the future, the king of
constantly learning.
Southeast DC. It's like, no.
I hope that never happens. But yeah, I mean, so there, I learned a lot growing up, what to do, what not to do, and currently I'm really, really into the psychology of man, the emotions of man, how the psychology affects the body and the mind. How it affects the emotional intelligence is something that I wasn't raised to think about, but I think about it now. How people, how aware, how self-aware people are, how intelligent they are about what they feel and how what they feel has affected them, how what they feel has changed over time. Like my relationship with Dad, I think is good. It's gonna be. We're not the closest, but we weren't then either. You know, so I have all respect for Dad. But when I see some guys, you know, with their fathers and they're all close and buddy, and I tell my dad everything kind of thing, like, it's like, man, I wonder what that would be like. It's not just that, have an older man that you can just like spill everything out to. No bars held. Any and everything you're going through, just to be able to open up and say all those things to an older, trustworthy male that can provide that sense of security, right?
But you're gonna have that though.
I didn't have it till later.
So you do have it now.
Currently, no.
I encourage you to find it, bro.
I write things down. I make songs. I write a lot of songs based on how I feel. You know, things that I wish were true.
I was just saying, on that theme of mentorship we've been hitting on for the past few segments and episodes. And even you earlier said, mentoring and being mentored. I forget how you said it earlier, but you actually said that too.
It's very true.
And I encourage every man to find a mentee and to find a mentor.
Very true.
A human mentor. Like people, I've been mentored by books. To be honest, no, a book cannot mentor you. You can learn from a book. You can get advice from a book. But mentorship is something that's human to human.
Right. It's more symbiotic than just reading something and taking it on yourself.
Right.
And you're just leaning on your understanding and whoever wrote this book. But then having a mentor, having someone a trustworthy person you can have a conversation with, doesn't want anything from you.
Exactly.
They just want everything for you. that kind of relationship is what really builds people up.
Yeah, and I was gonna say I've challenged many guys, including you and others. So I don't even think about, and I actually listened to The Effective Executive by Peter Drucker today, a few chapters of that while I was getting my manicure, pedicure.
Okay.
But he was saying in Japan, they don't even do assessments of people's performance in the way that we do it because we focus on negative stuff. In Japan, I don't know if it's true now, but historically in Japan, if you get a job with X company, you stay with X company. If you're a man and you're 18, you get a job at KFC, you will die after retiring from KFC. You're not going to another job. This is the plantation on which you will work, live, and retire. Also, the executives of the company come from those people. So you come in and there's a pipeline from the burger flipper to the CEO. And that's how they do it. You come in and there's just a constant pipeline. And at 45 or so, they said they select the men that are, or women, of course, that are good at what certain skills, and they select them, they handpick them, and they move them forward. And they say they don't focus on any negative qualities because you're only going to get, the only thing that's really valuable in someone you're working with or relationship is their good qualities. And I'm not saying the bad qualities aren't affecting, like they're not this or that. But I think what he was saying as far as in this example, it was about business, but he was like, you have a team of people. And in our example, I'm thinking a team would be your dad, your mom, your grandma, your brothers, your friends. These are your team. And on your team, you identify who gives you what you need. My mom gives me X. It may be advice, it may be love, it may be a listening ear, it may be a hug and a kiss that I know doesn't want anything from me. Your dad may give you hard advice, may give you this, may give you that. Your brother may give you this or give you that. Your mentor gives you something else. And what he was teaching was that all your community are valuable and they all give you, like in the soil of your life, all the nutrients in the soil. And I think your parents are vital, right? They're the ones that watch over the nest as you're growing up. But they by far not sufficient to give you all that you need in your life. There need to be other people. God, that's why people say it's a community. It takes a community to raise a child. Right. And not only is it so good to recognize you get those things from other people in other places, other mentors. That's number one. But number two, and this is what I think about marriage too, if we expect so much from this person or that person, if we expect 10 things when they only got 2 of the things you need, that kind of puts a rift in your relationship. Where it's like, well, I only got these 2. Right? Don't focus on the 8. I ain't got them. Like, I can only give you these 2. And if you need those 8, you got to find somewhere else to get them. And that really blessed me today. The Effective Executive is not about relationships. I mean, it's about business relationships. So it is essentially about relationships. Right. But I tell people as well, like I know lots of people that want my spouse to be my lover and my best friend and my confidant and my this and my that. I'm like, no. We need to be all of that. I'm going to need you to have some girlfriends. I'm going to need you to have a mentor. I'm going to need you to have a mentee, some girlfriends at church. Like I will not be all those things to you. It's going to be exhausting. And I don't want you to be all that to me because I need a break. Right. So I think in all of our relationships, we have to understand, like we have a flower pot that we grow out of and lots of things are in that soil that God puts in our life. And we have to, and this is just something I've really thought about, and maybe I can take those thoughts and put them into somewhat of a book one day. Totally. Because I think that's something I really want to explore more and think about and even write about more. I think would heal more relationships and have us have a more healthy perspective on all the relationships in our lives. So yeah, that's just a thought I wanted to share.
Yeah, I mean that think makes a lot of sense. It's very true. I mean, I've always heard it takes a village. It takes a village. It takes a village. And as a teacher, I've even noticed some of the things that my students might say because their parents aren't around. Yeah. And I would go back and tell the parent, like, look, your kid is talking about this, that, and the other, and you should know about it because I don't know if they talk about this with you or with other people, but I'm very concerned.
Yeah,
like the 7-year-old is saying right now.
Wow.
And you're not only a teacher for music, but you're also part of their village now.
Yeah.
And this is why I don't go from student to student to student. If I get a student, I try my best to hold on to that student. Aside from the fact that most people quit music because their teachers weren't very teachery. But the other reason is, you know, I don't want to just jump into someone's life and just jump right out, especially if I'm a source of encouragement, or if their education is in my hands. You know, they could quit music forever because of me, or continue forever because of me. So there's a lot of responsibility being a teacher, and on top of that, you're in their house. You're spending however much time with their child, you know, and it's like whatever you say and do, the child's going to remember. So more than likely they're going to talk about it with their mom and dad, and it's vice versa, right? So whatever they say and do, I bring it back to the parents, you know, kind of deal. But I'm fairly sure there was moments where I would hear things, or the kid would say some things to me. It's like, you're only saying that because your parents aren't around. And of course I would go back and say something because, like I said, I'm part of the village now. And I'm helping them raise the kid in a way.
That's deep, bro. And sometimes I think these kids have so many disappointing, not so many, they're kids that have disappointing parents, like say someone who's not showing up for them, not giving them attention or love.
Right.
And one other person could come in and do the same thing. You're right, bro. That's a burden.
Yeah, a lot of
it's a responsibility.
I've been put into some positions where it's like, in the back of my head, it's like, man, if I were a worse person, like this experience would be so different. I've had parents put me 2 floors below in a basement with an instrument.
Yeah.
Just me and their, 7 or 8-year-old kid.
Irresponsible, in my opinion, but yeah.
Who? Do you not care about this child?
Right.
I've asked parents to say, can we have a lesson on the main floor with everyone else? Or, would you mind sitting in?
Yeah, I know some teachers that would not have lessons in a separate place.
Oh, that was only one time.
Yeah.
I didn't do that twice. Because I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I've gone to lessons where parents weren't even home.
Yeah.
It's like your kid is not old enough to be home by themselves, let alone be in the house with another adult person.
I'm gonna be glad that you weren't. We can bleep this out, but a Karen, because some teachers would have showed up and called CPS immediately.
Yeah.
They said there's a minor in the home by themselves. I'm currently with them, and I would like,
it's insane. It's insane. But so yeah, you do have some parents that aren't ready to be parents. It's kids raising kids.
Wow. Yeah.
But we were lucky. We had good parents.
Yeah.
We had good parents. Mom gave us all the love. She gave us enough love for both of them. Dad came around later on. I think I was 16 when he said, "I love you, son."
Yeah.
And that was weird at first, but it got a little easier to hear over time. I feel like he started to really mean it over time, and I really started to feel it over time. So now when he says, "I love you, son," it actually means something now.
Yeah.
But it took a little while to get there. In that first 16 years where he wasn't saying it like at all, like I wonder sometimes how different I would be if I had gotten that level of affection. But like I said, life took real good care of me. God took good care of me. My family took good care of me.
Yeah.
And I feel like I came out okay.
Yeah. I mean, he gave you what he had to give.
He gave what he had to give.
Yeah, that's it. That's all he could give is what he had.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Bro, this was a good conversation, man. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. This was,
again.
We had fun.
You enjoy your birthday today?
I did. Particularly that massage.
You had a massage.
Well, it wasn't this mani-pedi I keep bringing up.
You had a good time at the manicure place.
Sleeping. My back hurts a little bit from that Chinese massage chair, but it was a great day. The weather was beautiful. I got to rest. Ate some of my favorite foods, and have my favorite people here.
Good.
Minus a few, but my top 5, almost all of them are here. So
that's all you can ask for, really.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you, man.
Thank you.
Till next time.
Till next time. I'll be here.
All right, bet.